Hello everybody and welcome to Trackalicious. My name is Kuja Terekov and we've got a fun night of racing ahead of us in the GT3 West Coast Wednesday series. It's round 4 tonight, halfway mark of the championship. We are going to be at the Belgian track of Zolder. We were at Spa last week in the south of Belgium. Now we are heading up north to the historic track around Zolder. Hope everybody is doing well on your morning, evening, afternoon, night, wherever you may be. Thank you for joining us tonight here at Trackalicious, and we much appreciate the support. And speaking of action, let's get down to the track. We've got qualifying underway around Zolder here tonight. A 10-minute session followed by a 50-minute race ahead. So speaking of the qualifying, let's get to the on-track action here. Got Potts Weaver in the McLaren, number 13. If the camera can pick it up, there it is, the defragmented McLaren made by the lovely Eric here tonight. Nobody set a lap in qualifying yet, just a minute and a half into the session so far. This will be everybody's first flying lap attempt. Potts Weaver will be the first to cross the line to try and set a valid hot lap here in the quick 10-minute session we have. The track is only fast, so that'll certainly provide more of a challenge to the drivers, as that will be not the conditions they certainly practiced in. A lot more, I am sure, practiced in those optimum track conditions with the maximum grip levels. So this will certainly provide a bit more of a challenge to those drivers. Potts Weaver and Sarah Liu in the Lexus in the background there, the number 310. Both going through the Kleine chicane at the moment. Technically labeled as an 11-corner racetrack, sometimes 10, sometimes 15, depending on how you call it. They like to bunch all of the chicanes up into one, so we will be going off of the official track map that Wikipedia has provided. And there in the foreground, Potts Weaver in the McLaren, the number 13, coming up to the line on a valid lap, hopefully. Timings don't quite pick up if the lap is valid on their first flying lap attempt, but we will see as he crosses the line with just one chicane to go. That's the Jackie X chicane at the end there of turn 11, and then a quick run down to the line. Can he get a lap time set? He cannot. Can Sarah Liu in the background? Also, maybe so. Let's see. I think the camera's just not showing it. There we go. Potts Weaver was able to set a lap time. Same with Sarah Liu. Jake Wells and Chandler Williams currently occupying pole position with a 128.437. Jake Wells not too far off. Kyle Hirsch in the mix. Jace Wright, Sarah Liu, Potts Weaver. Those are the order at the left there of those who have set a valid lap time so far. Hello, Rob. Welcome. Good to see you again after your race on Monday. Glad to see you here supporting the troops on a Wednesday night or morning, wherever you may be joining us from. The pole sitter at the moment is Chandler Williams in the number 3 Ford, the Please Brake T1 team with a podium lockout last time, 1, 2, and 3. Himself, Jake Finn, and Tiago Denarte finding themselves on the podium positions, I should say. 11:05 p.m. Perfect. So yeah, West Coast Wednesday does kind of apply to you, my friend. Or sorry, no, East Coast. Duh. I can't do math. I can't do math times at all. But nonetheless, a little bit of a late evening. But thank you nonetheless for joining us. Of course, you don't have to live on the West Coast to join these leagues. So if the time works for you, do feel free to sign up on SimGrid. The signups are still open, even though we are halfway through the championship. And Chandler Williams improving his time at the top, and the Ferrari of Professor Chronotis, the blue shell in the background here, still not able to set a lap. And let's ride with this flying lap with the Professor in the number 42 Ferrari. Bed soon, work can wait, racing cannot. Racing is much more important than work, as all these drivers are showing us that here, just over the halfway mark of the qualifying. Jake, Finn, Chronotis, and you still not able to set a time on the board. Sarah Lee, you improves to second place. Jake Wells is in third, Jace Wright in fourth and returning to the pits. Kyle Hirsch is in fifth, Matt Artem in sixth, Potts Weaver in seventh, Austin Doyle and Dr. Porkchop, the two Jags, eighth and ninth. Buggy Watt in 10th, and then again Jake Finn, Chronotis, and Kevin Yu still yet to set a valid lap. Right on board with the Ferrari for the closing turns of the lap. This is turn number 9 before this quick left-right of the Jochen-Rindt chicane, and then of course the number 11 turn chicane of Jackie Ickx. He doesn't take the curbs too heavily on the inside, but he does really take them on the exit curb as he charges to the line in the Ferrari. What time can Chronotis set? It is good enough for 8th place, a 1:30.447. Now Matt Artem in the Audi, if the cameras were quick enough to pick him up, he is too fast for the cameraman to pick him up. Approaching that turn 11, and I believe that is the McLaren of Buggy Watt in the foreground, or Jake Wells also coming up to the line. And let's see what sort of time we've got with Matt Artem. Not able to improve, or he was able to improve, but not able to improve on his position. And Chandler Williams goes even faster at the top of the charts with a 1:27.765 being the target to beat. Work sucks indeed. But hey, you gotta make your money somehow to do all the fun stuff like this when you got your time off. Speaking of those Jags, this is Austin Doyle in the number 11, currently sitting in the top 10 in 9th. In that pink and black Doyle Mosport, cutting the chicanes at turn 7 pretty perfectly there. Then the sweeping turn 8 up the hill. That little turn is technically not a turn on the official track map before going through turns 9, and then this is turn 10 up here, and then the final chicane coming up for Austin Doyle. Let's see if he can improve, and I think he actually invalidated his lap there at the end. But Kevin Yu is able to take his Ferrari from not being able to set a valid lap to 8th place in the number 95, and Austin Doyle will start another lap once again. Still plenty of time to do that though. Jake Wells approaching the final section here. Again, turn number 10 and 11 coming up. Podium sitter from the races before, but now finds himself just outside, qualifying in 4th place. Let's see where this flying lap can take him, and of course he's got one to go when he comes up to the line. How high can he go? It's good enough to take a front row seat, but not quite pole position. Sits in 2nd place, about 2.5 tenths off of Chandler Williams at the top. Potts Weaver now improving to 8th place, crossing the line, setting a 1:29.425. And Kevin Yu, the driver who was improving earlier after not being able to set a lap in the 95 Ferrari, coming up to the line. How high can he go? Climbing up the charts. The track is now optimum, so this is the time to go and set those valid lap times while the track is in perfect condition, and Kevin Yu is able to do that, gets himself up into 7th place. Jace Wright in the 24 BMW, the lone BMW on the grid here with us tonight. Currently about 7/10 off of pole. We got yellow flags. That's the 414 returning to the pits. And that is the qualifying session timer hitting 0. So anybody on a valid lap is still able to cross the line to complete theirs. And Jace Wright is not happy with his, and he will dive back into pit lane. Jake Wells now crossing the line, is not quite able to get pole position. 600th off the mark, but that is a remarkable pace, I should say, from the top 2 on the grid there. And Potts Weaver in the fellow McLaren, the number 13, now up to the line, gets himself up into 8th place. Just a few drivers left on valid laps. The number 95 is Kevin Yu, the Ferrari, one of the 2 Ferraris on the grid tonight. Currently finds himself being the higher one of those Ferraris. Up to the line. Can he improve his position? Not quite able to do so, and those behind not able to set a valid lap, as it seems like their time was invalidated from going off earlier. And now we've got a 50-minute race ahead of us around Zolder here tonight, with a mandatory pit stop in between. And that pit stop does have a mandatory refueling time of 25 seconds. So now it is the driver's choice to take an additional 5, or add an additional 5 seconds to their pit stop to take tires, to have that fresh rubber advantage towards the end of the race, or whether they are happy with the way they are and want to keep that track position as best as they can for the remainder of the race after their pit stops. And let's remind ourselves of the starting grid here tonight. Chandler Williams starting in pole positions, as he has done plenty of times before in the West Coast Wednesday Championship. The Please Brake T1 Mustang, the number 3, starting in pole position. Jake Wells, though, setting a pretty blistering time as well, just 600ths off of the pace of Chandler Williams in the 527 JWR NLR McLaren. Jake Finn, the lone Nissan on the grid tonight, the Please Brake T1 teammate of Chandler Williams at the front. The 43 Nissan will line up on the second row in 3rd place. And keeping Jake company will be Sarah Liu in the Myonex Lexus. The number 310 starts from 4th. With Jace Wright in 5th place, the number 24 Team WRT 2024 livery for Jace on that BMW tonight starts in 5th. Kyle Hirsch will be in 6th. The Dive Bombers number 21 McLaren will certainly look to make up some positions from the start. Kevin Yu in the number 95 Ferrari, able to get some valid laps towards the end of qualifying, and he finds himself in 7th place. Potts Weaver in the number 13 defragmented McLaren here, made by the lovely Eric, will start in 8th place. Matt Artem in the 414 Audi, the America United Racing livery, being represented by Matt tonight, will start in 9th. And in the top 10, one of the Jags, Austin Doyle, the Doyle Mosport number 11, will start just ahead of his number in 10th place. The number 42 blue shelled, oh whoa Ferrari of Professor Chronotis starts just outside in 11th, but we know he has the pace to move up those positions. Buggy Watt in the bleached buggy number 410. McLaren starts from 12th place. And last but not least, the second Jag of the grid tonight, the number 71 Chop Shop Racing, being driven by Dr. Porkchop himself. We'll start from 13th on the grid here tonight. Absolutely lovely liveries on the cars here tonight. Love to see the creativity from the drivers making their own individual unique designs, sharing them with us, and we are able to broadcast it here with the world. Starting the formation lap, a full formation lap, not too long though. It is a 2.5 mile configuration here. And Adam Strange redeeming a fun fact, as well as sharing that he is on a 3-stream streak. So thank you, Adam Strange, very much for the support. And we will redeem your fun fact here right now. The first time Zolder was officially built and opened was in 1963, and it held 10 F1 events, alternating with Spa, the other famous Belgian track, until the 1984 Belgian Grand Prix, and it has not hosted F1 ever since. But it has gone through plenty of renovations to make the layout a lot safer. Of course, a lot of the chicanes were added in, and now it is the home of the 24-hour of Zolder for the GT World Challenge Championship. So that'll be the fun fact for Adam Strange there. Hope that was fun enough for you. Kind of more so the history around the track than anything, but I find that to be kind of fun, so hopefully you do too. And now the front of the grid slowing down to line up in that zipper formation, with Chandler Williams leading the pack in the Mustang, the lone Mustang on the grid here tonight. Plenty of McLarens, a couple of Ferraris, 2 Jags. That is probably the most surprising one of it all tonight. But we are getting set for a 50-minute race here in round 4 around Zolder in the West Coast Wednesday GT3 Championship. Now lining up on the front row. Let's see how everything gets underway. As the drivers come up to the line, the green light will release them for 50 minutes of action ahead. The green flag waves, the green lights go off, and we are set for round 4. Chandler Williams covering off the inside, but Jake Wells gets a sweeping move around the outside and moves up into first place, and Sarah Liu is looking to take advantage on the inside of Jake Finn as well for a podium position. And let's see the action in the background. That's Kyle Hirsch and Kevin Yu bumping, and no! I believe that was Jake Finn getting caught by Jace right in the BMW behind. And now both Jake Finn, Austin Doyle, and Kyle Hirsch in yellow flag situations in the background there. Jake Wells able to get a fantastic getaway, though, from the start, and able to sweep around the outside of Chandler Williams, and Sarah Liu able to capitalize on the inside. But then Jake Finn, Kyle Hirsch, and Austin Doyle, Jace Wright also getting involved in that incident. And now they will try to certainly make up those positions after that unfortunate incident behind. Kevin Yu very fortunately able to escape the chaos. He was forced to go wide, but now he is on the tail of Potts Weaver. And that's Matt Artem in the background making up places. Dr. Porkchop was his next target ahead there, as well as Buggy Watt. Professor Chronotis making up a lot of places from the start, as well as Buggy Watt, both of those, and Porkchop to say also from the back. And Matt Artem is looking really racy in the background, and he is on the tail of Buggy Watt behind. Let's see if he can get the move done. He is going to sweep through the inside, and Jace Wright looking to capitalize as well after that unfortunate contact there. And I agree, it was a shame, and I also hope that there was not a lot of damage for those cars. Jace Wright seemingly not too bothered by any damage he has, as he is right on the tail of Matt Artem and looking to move up into 8th place. Can he get a move done into the chicane? This is the Kleine chicane at turn 5, but Matt Artem confident on the brakes. Dr. Porkchop, though, looking to make a move in the background, but he's not quite able to get the move done there. And Jace Wright still right on the tail of the Audi, looking to capitalize, but no move available here into the Gilles Villeneuve complex. Oh, and Jace Wright taking out one of the boards on the exit. Flying a long way was that board. Really taking it for a ride. And Matt Artem is in 7th. Jace Wright is in 8th. So this is the fight for 7th place here. Jake Wells with a pretty good lead at the front, just about 1 second as they tick through the timing charts there, around 7/10 actually. So just a little bit closer is Chandler Williams on this lap than the last one. Does have the fastest lap of the race, but we are pretty early on still as the 43 of Jake Finn goes into the pits after suffering a bit of damage earlier on, unfortunately. But nonetheless, still racing on. And Potts Weaver now, unfortunately, losing out to the 2 Ferraris. Kevin Yu and the Professor in the Blue Shell Ferrari, able to capitalize on that mistake from Potts Weaver. A pretty slow last lap compared to the other 2. So maybe just a little bit of a mistake. We don't want to speculate too much because we didn't really see what happened. Maybe there were great moves as well done by the Ferraris to get those positions to move up into 4th and 5th. Chandler Williams is not giving up any room at the front there, and neither is Jace Wright. Still right on the tail of the Audi. A very heavy braking zone coming up ahead of turn 9, but he does not want to send it just yet because he knows he has a bit of damage on that car and wants to really get that race finish with just about 5 minutes under our belts. It's still a long way to go in this race, and you don't want to lose any race time by making any more silly moves. Not that that move that he made was silly. I didn't really see what happened, so can't really say too much. Just you know, saying don't want to do anything silly to compromise the remainder of your race ahead. And it looks like Matt Artem is compromising his line to take the inside away because Jace Wright has a good overspeed, but he's not quite able to stick the BMW where he needs to. And the 43 of Jake Finn, unfortunately, returning to the pits there after being yellow flagged. So I think that is the race done, and side by side into the chicane, but he thinks the better of it and just tucks in behind once again. Oh, and he gets the move done. Matt Artem making a mistake there. Didn't quite see what happened. Let's see if we can take a look here. He just went off at the chicane, and Jace Wright able to sweep through to the inside. As I was going to change the cameras there, that move was done and dusted. Very sneakily done. Matt Artem must have just cut across the chicane there. But Jace Wright now finding himself up into 7th place, a bit of clean air in front so he can really show his pace here. Needs to get on the tail of Potts Weaver, who is on the tail of the Professor himself, battling it out for 5th and 6th place. McLaren versus Ferrari. Lap 5 underway, 4 laps completed so far. And really nothing separating these two drivers up ahead so far. Oh, and Kyle Hirsch and the 21 and the 410 McLaren. The 2 McLarens getting involved in contact at the back of the grid there. And it looks like Kyle Hirsch just slowing down to get that position through. Knows he may have made a bit of a dive bomb move and just letting Buggy Watt through to line him up for another attempt here. Potts Weaver really taking the curbs aggressively at the chicane of turn 5 before going up and then back down the hill and to the left before another chicane complex, a right, a left, and then a right, followed by another quick right-hand corner flat out. Don't want to run too wide though, as we saw Jace Wright do, take out the boards on the left, and he's not quite able to match the speed of the Ferrari through the first couple of sectors, but sector 3 might change things as there's a tight hairpin followed by a quick chicane, and then once again another pretty slow second gear chicane for most of these cars. And we'll see what Potts Weaver can do. Oh, it takes the first part of the chicane pretty heavily and isn't able to get that advantage. And now has Jace Wright pretty close to the back of him, but not quite close enough to make a move just yet. At the front of the grid, Jake Wells taking the fastest lap away from Chandler Williams, but it is pretty close. A 127.962 for Jake Wells and a 128 dead even. 0.000 for Chandler Williams is his current personal best, but we'll see if things change. Like I said, still pretty early on in the race, but nothing separating the top two at the moment. Chandler Williams right on the bumper of Jake Wells going through the first and second sector, but once again, oh, and the 410 and the 21 again under yellow flags there at turn 2. And it looks like Kyle Hirsch still stranded there. Hopefully he's able to get his McLaren rolling again out on track. And he sure is. Chandler Williams, though, really applying the pressure, though, keeping Jake Wells right on his toes. Doesn't want to commit any mistakes from the lead and give Chandler Williams any easy opportunities to make that move and retake the lead of the race. It's getting very close in this battle for fifth, sixth, and seventh. Jace Wright, getting all the J's mixed up, and he's looking to take a move down the inside, takes the line into turn 1, and Potts Weaver can't get the switchback done. Jace Wright positioned that BMW absolutely perfectly for Potts Weaver not to have a chance to make any move, and he himself is running a bit wide on the exit of turn 3, and that is not going to help his chances of trying to stay close to the battle. Now Jace Wright has the Professor in front in that blue shelled Ferrari. Now up into 6th place is the BMW, but Potts Weaver still on the tail, not giving up the position just yet, keeping the cars in front honest as well. Good to see that. Wants to keep the pressure on as best as possible. And Carnotis will love seeing the battling going on in the background, as that will certainly slow down all of the drivers behind. And Matt Artem just sneaking into picture there in the Audi. Does have pretty similar lap times to these cars in front of him, so he will certainly also be looking at the battling and be licking his lips, as he will want to get involved in the battle, as Potts Weaver making a mistake at the exit of the final corner, just a little bit squirrely there, and Matt Artem, I should say, is certainly coming into play for the battle for 7th and 8th place between the McLaren and the Audi. But the Professor runs wide, and Jace Wright sweeps to the inside. Can the BMW sweep to 5th? He certainly can. A bit of nudging, though. Still has the inside line. The Professor's gonna try the switchback, and now it's a bad drag race to the braking zone of the chicane, and it looks like Jace Wright is able to get the move done, and he finds himself up into 5th, and now just 3.7 seconds separates him from Kevin Yu in 4th place. Austin Doyle in the pits in the Jag, serving that mandatory pit stop. And Jake Finn as well, just resting in the pits, watching his fellow Please Brake T1 drivers race for 2nd place. Currently, Chandler Williams finds himself now taking the fastest lap again away from Jake Wells, and they are just matching alternating fastest lap at the front of the grid between 1st and 2nd place. And of course, they are still within a second of each other. Absolutely nothing separating the top two. Sarah Liu just falling back a little bit. 10.8 seconds is the gap from the 2nd place position, and then Kevin Yu just 3.3 seconds back from Sarah, and Jace Wright here in 5th, 3.6 seconds back from the battle picking up for 4th place, and the Professor certainly wants to stay close to get involved in that battle. Potts Weaver running wide. The Professor dipping a wheel into the grass as well, and Matt Artem, the Audi, sneaking into picture, wanting to get involved in all of this battling happening up here. This is what the wing of Jake Wells is looking at. Chandler Williams in that mighty Mustang. Not so advantageous here. They can't quite use the top speed advantage around Zolder. Not very many long straights, just of course a 2.5-mile configuration. Much shorter than the usual layouts we see, and a lot of chicanes through these hills in Belgium, but not quite as dramatic as the ones we saw at Spa last week. But still very undulating corners, especially that of turn 8, or in between turns 8 and 9, I should say, and turn 6 between the two chicanes of the Kleine chicane and the Gilles Villeneuve chicane. And now Jake Wells has a bit more breathing room, opening up the gap to Chandler Williams as he dips a wheel into the gravel at the exit of turn 4. Oh, and Potts Weaver there getting into the grass. Matt Artem is going to capitalize on that. And that is a bit of a curse there, just as the camera cut to Potts Weaver making that oversteer moment. And Matt Artem in the 414 sweeps around and takes 7th place away from Potts Weaver. Sarah Liu in the Lexus approaching some lap traffic. That is Austin Doyle in the Jag, already serving his mandatory pit stop, just electing to get that out of the way, and now has a bit of clean air in front, but is under those blue flags. We see the marshals there waving it for Austin Doyle, just letting him know that a faster car is approaching behind. Sarah Liu, nonetheless, pace is good for her, good enough to find herself rolling in 3rd place, taking 3rd away from the beginning of lap 1 from Jake Finn, who unfortunately found himself in a bit of an incident behind. And now Sarah Liu sweeping through the lap traffic, Austin Doyle making it nice and easy, and that is textbook blue flag work from the pair of drivers here. And the ebbs and flows continue around Zolder as Chandler Williams finds himself right on the bumper of Jake Wells once again for the lead of the race. And it just seems like the lap times go and the lap times go away and go and they come. I don't know what I'm trying to say there. Something poetic, but it just didn't quite work out. But nonetheless, Chandler Williams right on the back of Jake Wells after he was able to open up a bit of breathing room, but now has the pressure to deal with once again. And Chandler Williams it's lining up a bit of a dummy move, maybe hoping Jake Wells would bite, but we know the experienced Jake Wells will certainly not give in to anything like that. He knows his pace, he knows the pace of the driver behind, and he will just certainly try to drive his best for the remainder of the race in the lead. With Chandler Williams, like, once again, it just depends on the sector. It seems like through sector 1, the McLaren able to use that downforce to its advantage and sweep through the corners of turns 2, 3, and 4 here. But then the Mustang catching up towards the closing sectors, where it might have a bit more of a mechanical grip advantage in the slower speed corners. And as well as here, with the ride height advantage, just able to jump the chicane at turn 5 and find himself right on the tail of the McLaren once again. Jace Wright is closing the gap to Kevin Yu, 1.2 seconds. They will certainly be battling it out very soon out on track for that 4th place position just outside the podium places. But Jace Wright does have very good pace in that BMW, and he might even be able to catch Sarah Liu by the end of the race with 32 and a bit minutes to go. Still plenty of time for Jace Wright to work his way up through the field. And these two at the front, Jake Wells and Chandler Williams, still not separated by absolutely anything at the front. And Chandler Williams, a bit of an oversteery moment there at the exit. Still able to get the power down though, and is hammering it down, trying to stay as close as possible to the tail of the McLaren in front. And here is that battle for 4th and 5th place. Jace Wright getting closer and closer to the back of the Ferrari, and that is Austin Doyle there. Again, the blue flags waving for the Jag. We'll see once again, textbook blue flags there from Austin Doyle, just stepping aside and letting the cars in front battle it out for 4th and 5th place on track. And now the BMW right on the tail of the Ferrari in front. This is what Jace Wright is looking at from his onboard in the BMW. Absolutely mighty on the brakes there, getting really right on the bumper of the Ferrari in front. And he's able to close that gap to just within a few tenths. Let's see if he can pull a move off here, going into the final chicane at turn 11. Really, oh no, and he was just taking the curb absolutely aggressively, and the Ferrari behind just didn't have the same speed that he was able to carry, and just tapping the Ferrari. But absolutely good sportsmanship from Jace Wright, letting the Ferrari through, knowing he made that mistake. And now the Professor is looking to capitalize, as he is going to sweep through the inside of Jace Wright and take that 6th place, or 5th place position away, I should say. But Jace Wright is not going to give it up easy, and they're going to go side by side through turn 3 into turn 4. The Professor Chronotis, I should say, has the inside line. I'm just losing my words here tonight. Oh my goodness. The action is certainly picking up here. Matt Artem also looking to pick up the pieces that are falling in front. The Chronotis, though, able to get the Ferrari into 5th. A wobbly exit, though, and the BMW capitalizing on that mistake. Professor, what is going on? Not quite able to teach the lesson 100% correctly here around that chicane. Falling back into 6th, and Matt Artem once again is looking pretty racy in that Audi. Wants to get close as possible, and the top 2 are into the pits from the lead of the race. A bit deep on the braking zone there, I should say, into turn 9 from Chronotis. The 42 able to capitalize in front, but once again just falling back here. And Sarah Liu is going to inherit the lead of the race in the 310 Lexus, with the number 3 of Chandler Williams in the pit lane, as well as Jake Wells just in front. Potts Weaver in the background of this battle here for 4th, 5th, and 6th place. Lots of battling going out on track now, with that contact between Kevin Yu and Jace Wright into the final chicane, bringing up a lot of the drivers from the back there, making this 2-car battle turn into a 4-car battle, and maybe we'll see even more towards the end of the race. Jake Wells able to come out very comfortably ahead of Chandler Williams after the pit stop. Very big gap there. Nearly 7 seconds between the 2 drivers after their pit stop. Maybe Jake Wells did not. Doesn't look like Jake Wells took tires, but Chandler Williams did. So we'll certainly see if that plays an advantage for Chandler in the closing stages of the race. An absolutely interesting strategy call there between the two drivers. Oh, and Matt Artem was looking to go into the pits, and he was just carrying too much speed, and I think that's going to be the race done for the Audi. Unfortunately, taking out the professor there, and that was a bit messy, I really must say. Just hoping to go into the pits, hoping the drivers in front would clear the chicane in time, but not able to do so. And Matt Artem unfortunately finding himself in the barrier at the exit of the pits, and now just returning to the pits. And oh man, that was tough to see. And Potts Weaver able to capitalize on that unfortunate incident from Matt Artem and Professor Chronotis. The McLaren, the number 13, now sits in 4th place in the race, but still the top 5 yet to complete their pit stops. Dr. Porkchop, Matt Artem currently in the pits, but I don't think he drove through the pits to get to that pit box, so I think he's gonna have to go out once again and return to the pits if he wants to serve that. And Buggy Watt, Kyle Hirsch, Dr. Porkchop also yet to take their pit stops from 8th, 9th, and 10th place. So Sarah Liu now has a pretty comfortable gap to the drivers behind. Kevin Yu making that even more apparent with him and Potts Weaver going into the pits. Jace Wright looking to extend his stint as well as Sarah is doing, I should say. The Professor, the blue shelled Ferrari in the pits as well. I'm sure there's a pretty extensive damage on the back of that Ferrari after that pit lane, or near pit lane incident, I should say. And it'll be very interesting to see what sort of tire advantage anyone elects to do, if they do so, during their pit stops. Of course, there is a 25-second mandatory fueling time for the drivers, and then it is up to them to decide if they want to take an additional, or take tires for an additional 5 seconds on their pit stop. And that is what we saw Chandler Williams do. So Jake Wells and Chandler Williams were riding on track right next to each other, and then Jake Wells electing to take the track position over anything else and not taking new tires, meaning his pit stop was a lot shorter than Chandler Williams by 5 seconds, and now that gap on track is about 6.5. Chandler Williams is closing in, but not by much each lap. At the beginning of the pits, it was about 7.3 seconds, so he has cut down about a second, and there is just a little under halfway in the race left, so that'll be very interesting to see whether that tire advantage comes into play for Chandler in the closing stages of the race. And Sarah Liu really bouncing that Lexus over the curbs, but the suspension handling it well, able to get the power delivered through the rear wheels, and continuing along the track she goes. Jace Wright in the pits from 2nd place. The BMW stationary there in the pits. Matt Artem and Jake Finn unfortunately succumbing to their incidents. And Jake Wells now, the car dropped, rolling back out on track. And we will take a moment and see. He looks like Jace Wright did elect to take tires. It's either he took tires or he fixed the slight bit of damage that BMW might have experienced in the race, coming into contact with a few drivers. But Kevin Yu still out in front, able to take his position still in front of Jace Wright, as he did also have a slightly shorter pit stop time. Kyle Hirsch and Dr. Porkchop in the pits as well from 6th and 9th place respectively. Buggy Watt will be the last one out on track yet to pit. Sarah Liu also in the pits from the lead of the race will more than likely come out somewhere around that third place where she was before all the drivers elected to come into the pits to serve that mandatory pit stop. Jace Wright, though, right on the tail, closing in on the tail, I should say, of Kevin Yu in front. And this battle for fourth place will surely continue on for the closing stages of the race. A bit of a gap behind to Potts Weaver, about 10 seconds. And he has Buggy Watt for company behind. But Buggy, of course, still yet to serve the pit stop. And then Professor Chronotis is in 8th place, Austin Doyle in 9th, Dr. Porkchop in 10th, and now are we going to see the move here from Jace Wright? He's going to send it into turn 1, and he gets the move done, but Kevin Yu is going to fight it back. He's going to have the outside line. Jace Wright has the advantage down the inside, and it looks like he's going to be able to sweep through into 4th, but Kevin Yu is not making it easy for him. He might have something to say about it going down the back straight into the chicane. What can Kevin Yu do about this? Let's see if he lines it up into the chicane. Not quite yet this time. The BMW really confident on the brakes and able to pull a few tenths just in the chicane alone, and Kevin Yu not close enough into this complex to make a move here. And that is the move done for Jace Wright. Absolutely beautiful move into turn 1 and able to hold it all the way through sector 1 and now pulling a bit of a gap behind. So with that move, Jace Wright has 8.4 seconds of clean air in front to Sarah Liu in the 310 Lexus. A slightly slower pit stop time from Sarah Liu out in front as well, costing her a bit of time to Jace Wright. And we will see who has the pace to finish on the podium. But Jake Wells back in the lead after most of the drivers completing their pit stop. Buggy Watt the last one to do so, and we see this pretty often from Buggy doing the late pit stop move. Now the gap between Jake Wells and Chandler Williams at the front has closed to about 5.3 seconds. So the tire advantage looking like it's coming into play for Chandler Williams as these stints continue. Just coming into the background of the shot there. This is what Jake Wells is seeing in his mirror. We can hear the Mustang just creeping up. There we see the black and red. Please brake T1 Mustang in the 71. That's Dr. Porkchop, yellow flagged at, or in betweens turn 8 and 9, I should say. Hopefully he's able to get the Jag rolling and back on track. Oh, and there's contact! Jace Wright! That was the car from 4th place, and Kevin Yu as well! Oh no, what happened here? So Porkchop was trying to get the car back rolling. He was still on the inside and just oversteers onto the racing line. Oh, and there's a big crest, of course, coming up over the hill. I'm just curious to see. He's just resting at the top of the hill there. Rolling back. Oh, and he rolled onto the racing line. Collected Jace Wright, and Kevin Yu goes right into the side of the Jag, and that is an unfortunate incident from those running in 4th and 5th place, and Dr. Porkchop returning to the pits. Kevin Yu as well in the pits, and Jace Wright gonna try to keep that BMW rolling for now, but that is certainly gonna be a bit of damage to the front of that BMW. Oh, and Potts Weaver capitalizing on that for sure. The number 13 McLaren just in the front of shot there. Capitalizing on that, moving up into 4th place, and Jace Wright nearly having a huge amount of damage to the front of that car, is able to avoid most of it, it seems like. Happy with how the car is feeling under him, and will keep rolling around in 5th place at the moment, with Potts Weaver just 2.4 seconds up the road. Oh, there's been a swap for the lead. Jake Wells is back into second place. It looks like his last lap, he made a mistake. It was really slow. It was a 136.1. And I think that mistake is really going to cost him as he's sliding the car in the background there. I think the tire advantage was certainly the way to go here for Chandler Williams as he is able to push on those fresh tires. And Jake Wells is now 4.2 seconds back. And hopefully the pace is still going to be okay in that McLaren to not fall into the grasp of Sarah Liu behind, who did take a slightly longer pit stop, more than likely took that tire advantage, and has 17 seconds to try and capitalize on Jake Wells falling back with those old rubbers on. Kevin Yu still in the pits after that damage to the front of his Ferrari, coming to contact with Dr. Porkchop, and it looks like we've lost one of the drivers here tonight. Unfortunate to see that. Austin Doyle in the Jag still rolling out there. The early pit stop for him, but still finding himself in 8th place, and Buggy Watt in front in 6th, still yet to pit as well. And he is finding himself coming under a bit of pressure maybe from the number 42 behind, but certainly not in the fight as he still needs to come into the pits to do his mandatory 25-second pit stop. Man, oh man, that was a really unfortunate incident there in between turn 8 and 9. 3 cars getting involved. But Jace Wright still keeping his BMW rolling, and after that oversteer incident from Buggy Watt, Professor Chronotis is able to sweep on through and takes 6th place on track from Buggy Watt. Doesn't even have to wait for him to return to the pits, unfortunately having a bit of an oversteer moment and running wide there at turn 2, but able to keep it gathered and under control, and the McLaren is still pointed in the right direction. Jace Wright up ahead, closing the gap to Potts Weaver. He's within 2 seconds, within a second and a half now, going into the turn 7 complex, the Gilles Villeneuve chicane, where unfortunately Gilles Villeneuve lost his life. I believe it was 1983 there, and then they made a bunch of changes, added that chicane to slow that sector down, and then named that new complex that they designed after the very famous F1 driver. Kevin Yu out of the pits in the number 95. Will be happy to finish the race in the top 10 still. Of course, with Dr. Porkchop and Jake Finn still in the pits, he does occupy that final top 10 position. And Jace Wright is really closing in the gap now to within a second. He is going to try to line up Potts Weaver, but we see that hood on the BMW just slightly popped up. Definitely a bit of front end damage is being carried by Jace. From the majority of the race, I should say, was involved in a bit of contact as well at the start to find himself near the back of the grid, but recovering well, carrying that damage through the rest of the race, and is now up in the top 5 and looking to take 4th place away from the number 13 of Potts Weaver in front. Jake Wells is really falling back now, 10 seconds to the lead of the race, and Sarah Liu is really gaining lap time here as Jake Wells again about 3 seconds slower on his previous lap than his personal best, so those tires are really coming undone under the McLaren, but this battle is really picking up now between Jace Wright and Pottsweever. We've seen him make plenty of moves into turn 1, but not quite this time. The McLaren able to hold it off. Turn 2 and 3 coming up, not quite. Again, an opportunity here for the BMW. Looking to get a better exit though. Not heavy enough of a braking zone into turn 4 to line up a move, but once again, that chicane looks like the BMW is able to handle it pretty well compared to the low-riding supercar-like cars of the Ferrari or the McLaren. The more road-going BMW and the Lexus, it's seeing the Mustang, I should say, also, it seems like are able to handle the curbs a lot better than those mid-engine supercar GT3 cars like we see Pottsweever in front. But of course, it is a super fun series that the BOP lines everything together, and we can have these absolutely different configuration of cars, different engines entirely as well, between the BMW and the McLaren, where they're positioned, how the entire geometry of the car works, and how the air flows under the car, over the wings, over all those little canards and stuff. And Jace Wright is really pushing the McLaren now down the main straight. Can he line up a move? The McLaren takes the defensive line, but Jace Wright is going to try to sweep around the outside, and he gets the move done. Inside, outside, doesn't matter. Jace Wright can do it all, and Jake Wells, a yellow flag there, finding himself in the barrier, it looks like, after the chicane. Hopefully he's able to keep that car rolling, but Sarah Liu does take second place away, and Pottsweever is not too far behind. Same with Jace Wright, as they are certainly going to look to capitalize on Jake Wells' tires, unfortunately seeming like they are falling away from under him at the moment. And Pottsweever going deep into the second part of the chicane, allowing Jace Wright to really pull away. And Jace Wright has an absolutely great advantage here to try to capitalize on Jake Wells in front and maybe find himself on that final step of the podium. Jake Wells, unfortunately, finding himself stuck at the exit of the Klein chicane of turn 5. But he's able to keep the car rolling, still in a podium position, but we've seen it before that tire advantage is really going away from him. He's got Kevin Yu for company there. That is the blue flagged car of Kevin Yu riding in 10th place. Unfortunately, a lot of damage coming the way of that Ferrari, having to stay in the pit lane for a really long time, finding himself 4 laps down. But great to see the determination to see the checkered flag at the end from Kevin Yu. The 95 still rolling out on track just ahead of this battle here under blue flag conditions there from Jake Wells, not making it easy certainly. And Buggy Watt, with just under 10 minutes to go in the race, will finally serve his pit stop after going long in the first stint. Good conditions here, of course, for our drivers. There, Kevin Yu respecting those blue flagged drivers in front, letting everybody go through, and their battle will continue on. And now it is really picking up for that final step of the podium, with Jake Wells' tires and maybe a bit of damage on the car as well. After being close to the barrier, I'm not quite sure if he hit it or not at the exit of the chicane there. But nonetheless, the tire disadvantage that he has over the BMW will be prominent on corner exits, as it seems like Jace Wright is now getting really close to the tail of the McLaren behind the plaid livery of Jake Wells. Under pressure from that golden black BMW behind. And are we going to see the move here through turn 4? Jake Wells still in front, but Jace Wright, Oh, dips a wheel into the gravel. He does have a big speed advantage here, and he's wiggling around behind, trying to get Jake Wells to bite, but he is having none of it. Let's see what the BMW can do into the Gilles Villeneuve chicane at turn 7 through turn 6 they go. Jake Wells defending it well, and Jace Wright going a little bit deep, and Potts Weaver is also going to look to capitalize. Oh, and there's a bit of an oversteer moment as he dips the wheel into the grass. Potts Weaver will certainly look to capitalize on this into the heavy braking zone of turn 9. But he's not quite close enough to do it though, folks. Not quite yet on this lap. Jace Wright has a bit more work to do to get on the tail of the McLaren in front. Finding him the BMW. The BMW finds itself here in a bit of a McLaren sandwich. The 527 of Jake Wells in front, the 13 of Potts Weaver behind, and Jace Wright finding himself in all of the action in the race tonight. Pretty difficult position to be in, the middle car, having to look in front to capitalize on any mistake, but also looking in the mirrors behind for the car behind, trying to line up any sort of move on yourself. But Jace Wright knows how to do it. Very experienced driver here in the West Coast Wednesday Championship, looking to take that final podium place away from Jake Wells, who does have the old tire, and he is going to line up a move into the chicane, and he gets it done into the braking zone, but he cuts across the second part, and Jake Wells is definitely going to sweep around there as that is cutting across the track and gaining an advantage, and Potts Weaver now right on the tail of the BMW. And the circuit is just giving in some places and taking in others. And Potts Weaver, though, in the background, a bit of a mistake. They're falling back in the order. Now Jace Wright can really apply the pressure behind, not having to worry about the number 13 McLaren in the mirrors. Can focus his, or can laser focus right ahead in the 42, finding himself in the barrier. That's Professor Chronotis at the Gilles Villeneuve chicane, unfortunately under a bit of a yellow flag there, but still rolling that blue shell out on track. The action here picking up. Third place battle really coming into play into turn 1. Jace Wright takes the inside, but Jake Wells has the outside. The outside now turns into the inside of turn 2. Jake Wells really sending it in there, making Jace Wright work for it all the way around the outside, and they are going to go side by side through turn 3. No, they're not. Jace Wright has the speed advantage, sweeps around the outside, and takes the podium place away, and Jake Wells dipping a wheel into the grass. Oversteer moment for him. Potts Weaver coming into play in the background now for 4th place, and it's going from bad to worse here as the McLarens are going to keep battling it out. Potts Weaver looking like he did take tires, a slightly longer pit stop for him than Jake Wells, and really coming under pressure now with Kevin Yu just in the background there, looking to pick up any pieces, if anything. He is, of course, in 10th place, so not involved in this battle on track necessarily, but looking to pick up the pieces nonetheless. Potts Weaver sweeps to the inside. Can he get the traction down to lay a move into the final chicane? They're side by side just about. Jake Wells has the inside line. Can he defend 4th place? Potts Weaver trying to get around the outside. A bit of contact between the two, and a switchback move from Jake Wells, and he is gonna stay in 4th place for now, but Potts Weaver really looking to pick up the pieces, and Kevin Yu also there, not making it easy for the drivers either. And Jace Wright running away from this battle, 2.3 seconds in the foreground. The BMW certainly having a speed advantage. Potts Weaver looking to sweep around the inside. Into turn 4 they go. Can he stick the move before the chicane? Kevin Yu also there in the background, looking to try to maybe mix things up a little bit, and Jake Wells knows he's got the tires, or knows he doesn't have the tires under him, and just lets Kevin Yu slip on through. and hopefully Potts Weaver, or hoping that Potts Weaver will do the same, and that battle for 4th and 5th will keep up. But that was a great move from Potts Weaver to sweep to the inside of turn 3 and take it through turn 4, and didn't give Jake Wells any opportunities into the braking zone of turn 5. And a reminder, if there is a move that you did like in this race, make sure to clip it and post it into the pass/save of the season or the week channel in the Trackalicious Discord, where our good friend Alex Hansen makes a big compilation of all those clips. And we can see all of the action across all the different series at Trackalicious, whether it be ACC, Le Mans Ultimate, iRacing, whatever you have. If there's a fun clip you have, post it in there, and we will certainly see it in a video coming up soon. Absolutely lots of brilliant overtakes from Jace Wright. We certainly saw lots of it into turn 1, inside, outside, you name it. He has been on a charge from the beginning, trying to capitalize on a few moves, but not able to do so. Oh, and Jake Wells, a snappy moment, and into the wall goes the McLaren there in the background. And things are going again from bad to worse for that McLaren, not taking the tires and just not able to have the grip through the corners and not able to save it after that really snappy moment from the mid-engine McLaren. With how spread out the field is, he's still able to hold on to that 5th place position. Professor Chronotis and Austin Doyle, the 2 cars in the back, maybe hoping to capitalize on that. Buggy Watt is in 9th, but he is a bit down, and with just under a minute to go in the race here, they will certainly want to try to capitalize on that quickly, but there is still a big gap between 5th and 6th place. And with just under a minute to go, this may or may not be the last lap of the race. Chandler Williams taking the lead after electing to take new tires during his pit stop. Davide, thank you very much for following. We much appreciate the support here. Hope you're enjoying the action here towards the end of the 50-minute race here in round 4. With 15 seconds to go, let's see what Chandler Williams decides to do. Will he slow down to take the checkered flag, or will he go around for another tour? Certainly has a gap behind, but I think he is going to be happy to just take the checkered flag here. Zero's on the dot, the checkered flag waves, and Chandler Williams crosses the line to take 1st place after taking pole position as well. Lost it on turn 1, lap 1, but able to take his tire advantage to the end, and he will find himself on the top step of the podium in round 4 here tonight. Sarah Liu will be in 2nd place here, taking the checkered flag. Pretty flawless drive, a slight yellow flag incident for her, but nonetheless taking that Lexus to 2nd place. Austin Doyle, we saw in the Jag, cross the line just behind Chandler, will take 7th. Kyle Hirsch takes the checkered flag in 8th place, and Jace Wright, after a very up and down race from him, will find himself in the final podium position in 3rd place. Potts Weaver, avoiding any major incidents, will cross the line in 4th. Kevin Yu in the 95 Ferrari will take 10th after getting involved in a pretty heavy accident with Dr. Porkchop in betweens turn 8 and 9. Jake Wells, after not taking tires, finding the barrier on the last lap there. The 527 crosses the line in 5th place. Professor Chronotis in the Blue Shell Ferrari will take 6th place. And Buggy Watt across the line as well in 9th. Dr. Porkchop, Matt Artem, and Jake Finn not taking the checkered flag there in 11th, 12th, and 13th. We, of course, would love to invite our podium sitters to join us in the green room here tonight for a quick chat about how their race went tonight. Take it back here to our lovely Trackalicious studio.
Green light, give it all you can.
And we will see, just give a second here to our podium sitters to join us in the green room here. If they do so choose to, of course, not mandatory by any means. We'll just see how everything went for them. But nonetheless, the West Coast Wednesday, once again, providing action from start to finish. The top two separated by absolutely nothing for the first stint before the pit stop. And then towards the end of the race, the action really picked up. Jace Wright really finding a pep in his step, moving up through the grid order. And while we have a moment here, let's take a look. Actually, never mind. We'll do that in a second. Still recapping this race. Pretty quiet race from Buggy Watt. Actually, not really. Him and Kyle Hirsch were involved in a couple of yellow flag incidents there, fighting it out for 9th place, but very respectful from the two of them, just giving each other the space when they knew there was a bit of a unfair advantage gained. And always good to see that respect out on track between the sim racers here tonight. Once again, hopefully the podium finishers will join us here real quick for a lovely quick chat. Before we get ourselves situated, looking at the calendar just to see what we've got going on here at Trackalicious. But yeah, round 4 here, the halfway mark of the GT3 West Coast Wednesday Championship. 4 rounds to go in the remainder of the race, or in the remainder of the season here. We've got Sarah Liu in the green room, finishing in 2nd place tonight. Sarah, thank you for joining us tonight. A pretty quiet race from you, but able to finish in 2nd place. How was the race from your perspective tonight?
It was a disaster, I would say, actually, because it's just so hard to find pace on this track, and made a few mistakes in the empty air. Like in the empty air, you always lose focus because you don't have a car to chase with, and yeah, with T5 that chicane, it is so hard to get Lexus like fly through that like safely. And yeah, made a couple made a spin there, and on the second half of the race, and I saw who the 2nd place they have crashed or something, and I saw he's like 3 seconds slower each lap. I don't know what happened to him, and I tried to keep my pace up, and yeah, finally I made it. So yeah.
Yeah, so what happened there is it didn't look like, based on the pit stop times I could see, it didn't look like he took tires, so there was just a couple of messy laps, took him out of the lead of the race, and then a couple of incidents. I wasn't sure if on the one that we tuned in with at first he hit the barrier, but he was just kind of parked at the exit of the first chicane, and then there was another really oversteery moment where he kind of snapped into the wall, but that was after you had already passed him. But yeah, so that was what happened in front, and I'm assuming you did take tires during your pit stop. Yeah, so that really seemed to be the play there, and yeah, he did put it into the wall. There's a pretty heavy amount of damage on the front of the McLaren as we saw crossing the line, but any damage for you in that race, Sarah?
No, actually. It's just that the tire wear is so serious.
Yeah, it seemed like it really was that. Yeah, unfortunately for Jake there, the pace really dropped off after the pit stop, because him and Chandler were pretty much neck and neck before the pit stops, but then the tires really went away after the halfway mark, it looked like. Is that kind of what you felt?
Yep, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, well, about halfway
turn
into the
5 and
championship.
turn
Oh,
3.
sorry. Sorry,
Turn
could you
5
repeat that?
and turn 5 and turn 3. Because I had to go with I went TC off there and because of the tire wear and I went off the track a little bit to the grass and yeah, made a spot there. Yeah.
Yeah, it happens. Yeah, it's really tricky around Zolder. It's super tight. Not a lot of it's yeah, like you said, it's really hard to gain any kind of lap time there. You have to be really spot on. What sort of lines do you take through the chicanes? Are you on the more aggressive side where you try to hop the curbs, or are you more on the safe side where you kind of try to ride through them?
On the first half of the race, I did so aggressively, like I was so confident about it, and yeah, I did actually very perfect on the first half of the race around the chicane.
Nice,
But
there
on
you
the
go.
second half, yeah, but on the second half, I don't know what happened to me, and on the first 3 laps, I got 3 cuts,
Oh
and
my
it
gosh.
stopped me. Yeah, and all of them are from the dash chicane, and I start to go very conservative.
Yeah, that is certainly something to think about around Zolder, the track limits, especially around a 50-minute race like tonight. Yeah, and that's yeah, super easy to pick them up, even maybe multiple in one corner as well. And yeah, that is absolutely something to deal with that I didn't even mention in tonight's broadcast. So yeah, thank you for mentioning that, of course. And congrats on finishing in the podium once again. Halfway into the championship, what are you looking forward to in the remaining half?
I'm pretty excited about it, and because actually we do have really um, a tight pace and on the grid, and I mean I don't know why like tonight we kind of have a small grid, but I'm looking forward to having more people to join on the rest of the season, and yeah.
Yeah, of course, not too popular of a choice, Zolder, it seems, here tonight. But we've got a fun calendar ahead. Suzuka, Valencia, the Nordschleife, the full configuration, the 24-hour layout there, and then Kailami to close out the season. It's a pretty fun
I love
schedule.
this track.
Oh, Jake Wells, thanks for the support, my friend. Unfortunate to see how that race went, but thank you for following along here tonight. Sorry for that interruption, Sarah. Jake Wells, just with a huge amount of support,
Yeah, okay.
subscribed for 27 months. Absolute legend. But congrats, Sarah, finishing on the podium.
Yeah, thank you
Good
so
luck
much.
to you
and,
in the last half of the championship, and I'm sure we will talk to you again in the closing races. Your pace is pretty phenomenal at the top, so keep it up, keep it going, and congrats once again for that podium position.
Sure, we'll do. Have a good night.
Thanks, everybody, for watching along. Jake Wells, thank you. Much appreciate that huge support here at Trackalicious. Good friend of the program, Jake Wells. No other podium finisher wanting to join us in the green room tonight. So we are going to throw it here to our lovely Trackalicious calendar and see what action we have lined up throughout the week. We'll start on Mondays in ACC. We've got the GT4 Rookies and the GT4 Open Championships. Prizes from Next Level Racing going to a random participant in the Rookies series who participates in 7 of the 8 races. And that same prize of a haptic gaming pad from Next Level Racing will go to the championship winner in the GT4 Open series. All the action starts at 8 p.m. Eastern time with 2 20-minute races for the rookies and then a 50-minute race for the GT4 Open. Next week, there is a week off before we head to Snetterton for round number 6. On Tuesdays, we switch it up to Le Mans Ultimate with the second season of the Multiclass 60 Championship getting underway. Algarve was the track yesterday. Next week, going to be a 60-minute race at Imola starting at 8:30 Eastern with qualifying. Then you saw it here tonight. The GT3 West Coast Championship in ACC starting at the late 11 p.m. Eastern time for those West Coast folks. But of course, you don't have to live on the West Coast to participate. The time works for you. Please do sign up on SimGrid. And of course, signups are open for all the other championships as well on SimGrid. We've got 4 rounds under our belts here, heading to Suzuka next week for another 50-minute race. Thursdays, we go to iRacing for the mixed GT3 and GT4 championship, starting at 8:30 Eastern. Have a great night as well, Jake Wells. Good luck in the remainder of the championship. I know today didn't quite go your way, but I know with your absolutely fantastic attitude towards sim racing, you'll be back stronger than ever next week. And of course, thank you once again for the huge support. Zandvoort is the track of choice this week in that iRacing championship that we were mentioning here. Starting again at 8:30 Eastern time on Thursdays. Before on Fridays going to Le Mans Racing. It's an alternating championship between the Multiclass Masters and the Orica Masters Cup. The final rounds underway in those championship. Bahrain is the track of choice. The Multiclass Masters will have their 100-minute race on Friday, this coming Friday, and then the Masters Cup will be next week for their 60-minute race. Oh yeah, I'm sure in the moment everything kind of sucks, Jake, but yeah, I know like you said, it'll all blow over and things will return back to normal for the most part. Saturdays, Trackalicious has the day off apart from the occasional fun events that we do host. So do keep a lookout in the Discord for those events popping up. Some IRL swap events for sure coming up. I know where fun friends and family event where wives, friends, girlfriends, kids, of course, anybody can hop in for an in real life sim rig seat swap. And those are super fun to watch. All the family members have a blast in those. And then on Sundays, we go to ACC for the Next Level Racing GT3 Pro Championship on Sundays, starting at 8:30 Eastern with qualifying. This coming Sunday, of course, Easter, no race this weekend. The halfway mark of the championship is reached. Barcelona, Donington, Hungaroring, and Snetterton under our belts. Nordschleife will be the next track of choice for round 5, and then Oulton Park, Bathurst, and Watkins Glen will be the finale of the championship. 80-minute races in that series, and of course, the championship winner will receive a prize from Next Level Racing. It is that ERS4 Fabric and Sim Aero Mesh Edition seat for a sim rig. Final thoughts here from our studio. Round 4 was pretty entertaining. Slightly smaller grid than usual with the 13 cars, but nonetheless pretty action-packed. Looking forward to what our drivers will provide for us next week as well. And thank you everybody to watching along. Thanks to everybody following. Much appreciate the support here at Trackalicious. And do please follow along for all the other fantastic championships. We have more Jags on the grid, please. I agree. We can never go wrong with more Jags. Sorry for the quick delay here. Going to try to get a raid set up. Let's go and raid some friends here. Make sure you stick around, show the support from one sim racing community to another, and show what Trackalicious is all about. And of course, do join us for the upcoming streams we have ahead. iRacing tomorrow, and of course, that Next Level Championship on Sundays always provides absolutely epic action between the top drivers here at Trackalicious. Thank you all for watching tonight. Have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, wherever you may be watching from, and we will catch you all next time.